We here. All right, so we back at it. Ain't gonna be too long with y'all, In the words of Absalom Pianki TV, ain't gonna be too long with it. I'm here for a short time, not a long time. Shout out to APTV, but it's just plain and simple. You got to get some things right in your life, and getting things right in your life is actually starting with, your money. Um, you know, as a child, you had so many things. Cool gamer, what's going on? It's so many things you went through as a child that you're gonna, have to make some changes with, and it involves you taking that step into being a better person. And basically, as the title of this is, looking at the man in the mirror. And it speak both ways when it comes to women and men. You know, it's about accountability. You know, thinking about the symmetrics between the man in the mirror, woman in the mirror. Neither here nor there. What's going on, Cut Dog? For the new year, what's going on with you? And a lot of times we have to represent ourselves in a certain type of fashion in which a lot of people don't know how to. That's the same thing when I talk about with finance. A lot of times people just don't know how to wheel and deal with finance. So it makes it kind of hard for them to, accept certain things when they come to pass. Needless to say, if I'm a person that's getting into some type of degree or, just some type of profession, preferably I would have been to school, studied for this, make sure I understand the bottom, like the underlying courses on which for me to excel in that program or wherever I'm doing. And so that brings the light to where most people having to do a little research, you know, and a lot of times you would hear people talking about the road to recovery when, you hear about addicts. And the number one thing about that, what's going on, Dr. Mark in the building? Shout out to you and everybody. I gotta get Cool Gamer. Let me make sure I got. Um, get him to get his ranks so he can, and check out all these wonderful channels over here. What's going on, young Riaz? You know what I'm saying? So shout out. But as I was saying about a person that's going through like sobriety, coming off drugs, going through AA meeting, you know, um, you have to find it within yourself first. And the crazy part is this: I actually had a friend who was going through sobriety classes, so I would come with him and support him, and everything. And basically, he was just going through for alcohol, but they would tell him your classes count whether you go to an alcohol anonymous or you go through one of those sobriety courses where they deal with drugs. And one of the things that stuck out was this man who, you know, he was almost as if he was a poet. Like his destiny was to become an actual poet or speaker. Because when he came in, his thing was he came in and just said, I ain't apologizing for ish. You know, he was like, man, I admit I raped my sister. He said I stole money from my mom, but he said I ain't apologizing for ish because it wasn't me, it was the drugs. He said under circumstances, I would never do this to my family. I would never put my sister through this hard. Jamie official, Jamie. But he was like, I would never put my family through this stuff. He was like, it's such a horrible thing to put your family through this. I would never did this to my mom, stole from her, robbed her, did all this. It was the drugs. He said, I ain't apologizing for ish. That's how he kept it. And I talked to the guy afterwards and he was saying that, yeah, man, I go all over, all through Georgia, Alabama, Florida, and I tell my story because it needs to be told that, despite all the circumstances that I put myself in, I got to make myself accountable. He had to reflect and, as they say, look at the man in the mirror. You know, I was the one who did it, even though I wasn't in my right mind. He said, I'm not apologizing for somebody that I wasn't. I'm gonna make amends for my actions, but I'm not gonna apologize for a person that I wasn't. That's not me, you know. And shout out to Gold Professor with the 9 laws of self-govern. If you look at the description of this video, you will see the 9 laws of self-govern. Shout out to Gold Professor. Going into the 5%, the laws of the mathematics, and you will understand the keys. And I always try to represent these 9 laws because just being yourself in nature, you have key things that you need to build your characteristics of yourself and make yourself be a better person. Hold yourself accountable. And those 9 laws are the things that are going to hold yourself accountable. And going into that, uh discipline starting off. If you don't have discipline, you pretty much don't have anything, you know. And that's the suffering with a lot of people with that is not having discipline, not having the ability, you know, to go through things and work on things and be a better you. The discipline is what makes, you know, you have that. And, more or less, a lot of times we suffer with discipline because a lot of us, just in general, you got to have discipline to get up and go to work. You can keep hitting that snooze button, or you could just not set your alarm at all. You get fired. If you're overweight, having that discipline to get up, you know, I'm gonna use this person in the chat. Shout out to him, Dr. Mark. I believe you said you was 65. Swims every 3 days. I think it's 3 days out the week he swims. He does his walking, his push-ups, his calisthenics, all that, and not on any medication. It takes dedication to live your life with a purpose and also to be disciplined to do things every day. Because some days you don't want to do it. Some days you want to put it off, but that could be the day that could hinder you from living your life to the fullest. 66. All right, 66. I was off by one. You must have just had a birthday. Oh, not too long ago. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And like I said, cool gamer, you should have your blue wrench to where you can pull up any other channels from Dr. Mark to Jamil, officially Jamil. She has a great channel, does a lot of mukbangs. From Young Riaz, he's overseas in the UK, so he does a lot dealing with the music over there and stuff, you know. So hey, anybody that comes in the chat that has a channel, check them out. Cut dog. I don't even think you got a channel. I know I always see you when we be over at Roger and all the other channels and stuff when I was in those spaces. But I don't even know if you have a channel, man. I think you just have the YouTube. But I'll check and see, make sure. Or you don't really put as much on your channel, if anything. I think because I think I have you and what's his name, Cortez Smith, the one that does the triple mafia. I think the 666 mafia. I think I be having y'all channels mixed up majority of the time. But for the most part, the 16th. Yeah, yeah. And then the crazy part is my birthday is in October. I don't even know I forgot that. You got the same birthday as my friend from Chicago. She a female, Riri. Well, Lala. But I'm gonna remember that now because my birthday is October the 6th. Your birthday is 10 days after mine. So I'm definitely gonna remember that now. But like I said, just going into a situation to where you having discipline and taking care of yourself, like any of the other 9 laws that's on that list, you can't. I mean, the other 8 laws, you can't even hardly deal with the other 8 laws. About building, reading, exercising. You know, planting the seeds and being patient. These are all out of order. But the point of reference is you can't do anything without step number one is discipline. Garnering the discipline to, make things happen. Tamika Davis, what's going on? And that's the biggest issue with a lot of us. Like I said, you can you can pretty much drop your own link because you have a wrench if you want to drop your own link. But if not, hey, it's up to you. People, you have wrenches, you can go to people's channel, check their channel out. I'm not the person or the channel that I promote. I share channels out. I always like to, give out good information, and I always like to, if people don't like the information, give a feel for themselves. Yeah, in the building. But, in general, like I say, going into being you know, the point of having that discipline, you literally have to hold yourself accountable. And that's what most people don't want to do. A lot of times with discipline, a lot of people don't want to make that sacrifice. They don't want to put themselves in position to say, someone's over this or someone's going to be doing that. You have to have that structure in your life to make amends with the things that you've done and understanding when you're moving forward. When I always talk about finance, the biggest thing with finance is a lot of people just don't know. I've talked to my son several times, and we talk about different things, and they had me laughing the other day. They was like, "Well, how did y'all, buy houses back in the day? Because we got all these computers and stuff like that." It's like, what? How would y'all use credit cards? Because he seen someone use a credit card machine back in the early '90s. And for those who know about those credit card machines in the early '90s, it was just your card and you had that carbon copy paper and they'll swipe the machine over it to get that carbon copy to scan that number on there and they have to send it off to be processed. Now it's just either tap, chip, you know, that's the fastest way. And a lot of times you have, like when you on your phone, you can take a picture of your card and it automatically puts all the information in. Queen is in the building, what's going on? And a lot of times, dealing with this new technology, it takes time to understand it. That's why when I say looking at the man in the mirror, you have to hold yourself accountable. We have these conversations all the time talking about how your parents might have never taught you this, or, you know, your family never said anything about this. Well, I always use my friend as an example. I know this guy, he's not even ashamed of it, but, I just always use him as an example. His mom told him was don't get credit. That was the first thing she told him. Don't do it. Don't get a credit card. Don't even try to finance a car. It'll ruin your life. The best thing to do is pay it off with cash. Like credit cards are the enemy. And he grew up not wanting to deal with credit. He didn't know the advantages of having a better credit score or anything because it was a cash only method. Like, don't deal with credit. Credit can ruin your life. getting credit cards and never paying them off, will bring you into debt. So it was something that he actually never had a chance to learn. So it was a hindrance more to him than a blessing. And going into that, like, it's just things like that that we don't even know that's holding us back in life, you know, because when it comes down to it, who's going to actually take the time and teach you this stuff about credit? Like, who's got your best interest for it? You know, make this go viral. What's going on? Miss V in the building. And a lot of times the process of us, just learning ourselves, you got to get back to learning you. When we were in school, you always like I talked to my wife and she would always say her most wonderful time in life was her running track in high school. Because that's when she was so excited about things and going to these meets. And I told her the same thing applied with me when I used to wrestle. That was one of the biggest things that I liked about wrestling was me getting into a position to say, man, like I love this sport, man. I'm so, just gun ho ready to wrestle. I'm so, just ready to adapt and to do this and to do that. When it came down to it, I was like, over time, when I graduated, like now, I go back and coach wrestling. I help kids. It's a good influence on the kids, and it's a better influence on me because it's teaching me lessons that I can still, you know, pass down to my kids, and I can instill in me that it gives me my youth back. So that's the discipline I have with that, teaching the kids, and then also with that, like I say, a cliche thing with me working out with the kids, then I don't have to really too much work out when I get home, say the least. But going into that process, I held myself accountable for certain things that I do. You know, I understand that me wanting to be this, coach, I have to put myself in position to, understand like, hey, I gotta talk to these kids a certain way. I gotta, you know, handle and deal with these parents to a degree, because that's the main thing. Being responsible and having an understanding of the things that you do will affect you and will affect those kids. And so a lot of times, you know, as a coach, you have to put yourself in position to win by, you know, being a better person, you know, having to walk away from things, having to deal with certain things. A lot of people, you know, in society just want life easy. And to make life easy, to be without any regrets and, go through the process of, doing whatever you want, how are you going to structure that? Because no one does what they want, you know, no one. You do what you want to a degree, there's consequences with it, you know, especially if they're bad. Doing what you want to a degree with the money that you have and you're responsible, there's good with it. But also there's consequences, like I say, with you doing anything. If you're doing the right thing, someone still could be mad at you for doing the right thing. How many philanthropists that are out there, you know, donating to the homeless? I've seen so many pastors get locked up for feeding the homeless because it's their vision to help people. You know, Gold P in the building. What's going on with your gold professor? Hey, gold professor, I told you, man, you might want to go ahead and bring that book out, man, because as it stands, I think these 9 laws of self-govern, I think I'm just gonna jack them from you, man. I'm trying to use discipline before I apply a little selfishness to the situation. But going into that, you have situations to where you know doing the right thing still doesn't account for you, being righteous. Because there are situations, like I said, with the pastors getting locked up and they're doing right. Then you have, of course, the situations of, having that money and wanting to do drugs, or sell it, or, put people in compromising positions. So it comes down to it to where there's an issue for people, to gather responsibilities and so forth. Oh, no problem, Dr. Dunbar. I be going over there from time to time. I mostly be on this side. I don't be on Facebook as much. But when I am over there, I shout out to a lot of people that's over there and be in the Facebook community. But more or less when it comes down to it, you're having the responsibility of taking care of yourself because, once again, when you're an adult, you might have parents that'll help you along the way. You might have friends and family that can guide you a little bit, but ultimately it's your choice. You know, I was talking to my aunt, she was in the hospital, and I explained to her, I said, you know your body more than anybody. I said, you know yourself. You're capable of doing most things that most people won't think you will be able to do because of either your weight, your height, or whatever. Uh Spud Webb, kind of a short guy towards the league, but he can dunk. Nate Robinson, same as with this guy. Basketball players, short but can dunk. Compared to the average, basketball players about 6'5" or so. In the league, 6'8". Shaq being one of the tall, next to what was the guy, Bradley and Yao. All those guys passing 7. But at the same time, though, what's going on, Ray? What's going on with you? Nice to see you over here. It comes a point in your life where you have to hold yourself accountable with things. And that's what I was saying. That man in the mirror, you have to reflect on the choices that you make. You know, Shout out to Gold Professor in the 9 laws of self-government. That decision, that you make to have that discipline in your life. And like I said, the 9 laws in the description of this video for people that are in here, jacking for beats, Gold Professor. I'm just letting you know, jacking for beats. But those 9 laws are structured for what? It's for you to understand, like, there's an old saying that, they say about Bruce Lee where he says and, I guess it's more famous with him than more of the people that actually wrote it back in the day, was to eat the meat and spit out the bones. The 9 laws are that guidance to where if it applies, what they say, if it don't apply, let it fly. These are the keys, which even if you take one out, it's still in representation of the other. It's like a domino, you know, step one, step two. And the first beginning of it all is that discipline. You got to have discipline to go down from 8 to 9, you know. For you to have exercise, you got to be able to get up, put on your clothes, and just get up with your natural clothes that you have on or whatever, and get out there and do something. You know, for you to sit there and read, you have to go pick up that book. Even if you don't know how to read, you can sit there. They have tons of things that can teach you or read to you. But that discipline of you getting up and wanting to do it, that's the key. You know, Same thing applies to you with finance. That's why I say I want to try to start going back more towards the basics of the natural behavior of you, like your feelings. Because if you're not yourself, you can't properly handle your finances. If you're not yourself, you can't properly make judgment calls to things in which, you know, could be better for your life. You can put yourself in a situation to where, far as with finance, if you're not feeling yourself, just like you have these impulse eaters, you have impulse shoppers as well. And to a degree, they just gotta have it. Shout out to Dr. Dunbar. Big discussions 76 right here. I've never heard this commercial until he started talking about it. And then that's when I started seeing it all on YouTube. And it was the Timu. I'm shopping like a billionaire. Timu. When he said that, I was like, yeah, I never seen that commercial on YouTube. Then all of a sudden it just took flight. And then it began to, you know, just every time I turn around, I seen the commercial. Seen it. And the thing of it is addictive. So I went on Temu the other day. I have a drone. I have, I think, three drones, no, two drones now. My son lost one, and I ended up buying another drone because this one had all the latest features of the DJI that I have, and I'm like, man, I could get this drone, mess around with this one because my intent is it's a hobby to play with these drones. Uh, I'm doing some works to where I can record with these drones while I work out or do something in my garden and things of that nature. So I'm, working out the bugs and see how this works, pre-record this video to where if I can do it live, then I'll do it live. If I can't, then oh well, you know. But, to the point of it is learning the process on not to spend as much money and get caught in these situations. Same thing with Amazon. When Amazon first sparked off, I was buying stuff on Amazon so much. I got the Prime membership. Nowadays, I rarely even buy stuff on Amazon. It's like I know Amazon will have it if I really need that product in so many days, but other than that, it's not a big thing for me to go on these sites and shop because it's more or less like people saying there's a recession. Being able to hold your money and do things with it and garner certain things, do account for some things. But as it stands, having that discipline, holding yourself accountable, looking in the mirror, you know, and for people that might have caught the thumbnail, you will see the guy in the tank top. And as he's looking in the mirror, there's a man in the mirror, which is him wearing a suit. And so if you caught that, you would understand like the difference in, what he was wearing while he was looking in the mirror compared to what's in the mirror. And that's a vision to come, or that a vision that is needed for his life, you know, and more or less from the tank top to the suit is a change, you know. And shout out to Frugal Mama where I got this kind of topic because this morning I was watching her video and she was talking about, different things about making a change and and she started singing The Man in the Mirror. And I was like, I did one of these videos before. I should do a part two, but I titled it something different. But more or less, come back full circle. Having an understanding with yourself, then you can go out and properly handle and manage your funds. That's the biggest thing. I can't even get into a relationship. Me, I've been married 17, but properly going into a relationship, I got to know what I want. And just like the men and women both say, they don't want to settle. I can't go after everything just to get what I want. I have to specifically go after what I want. Now, am I going to hit every, target or thing on that list? Maybe, maybe not. But to a degree, you know, I've always talked to people and they ask me, what are the things that made it work with you and your wife? It's certain things that you gotta understand. Things that you're willing to accept. That's how you can go in a relationship and preferably get married. Things that you're not willing to accept. I mean, those are things that you're not gonna, possibly get married or go into a relationship. And I've always said, that casual dating with me, when I wanted to get married, I stopped casual dating because it was pointless. I would go on dates, pay for food, talk to women, knew they wasn't the one. They try to call me back. I, kind of let them down easy. Like, no, it was to the point where if I didn't see certain characteristics or, you didn't present yourself a certain way, there was even really no reason for me to date and the aspect I would tell guys sometimes I would tell them, hey man, if you're looking for us with sex, sometimes you might have to go without, and they was like, oh man, I'm not gonna turn down no free sex. If I'm paying for the food, I'm getting somebody. Then it goes to the point of you looking in the mirror. You know, Same thing with women. Going out with a guy for food or going out to see if potentially he might be the one. But if there's things that are uh no but if there's potentially things that that man is showing you, then hey, y'all could kind of work it out, get to know each other, because that's the basis of a lot of relationships. The base is a lot of people generally see what people have and they want it. They don't really have the situation to where they want to get to know each other. And with that being said, that's what a lot of times has issue. The 17. Okay. Sorry about that. I had somebody send me rather a wrestling meet on the 17th. I want to make sure looking at my calendar about it. But overall, like I said, it starts with you first. You have to get yourself right so you can get your finances right. So you have to take everything that you were disappointed and feeling bad with about your family, push it out the door, focus on you being a better you to get things accomplished. And overall, sacrificing, learn a little something. I could be entertained all the time and everything, to a degree can be, funny and be a joke. But, when it comes down to it, being a better you makes sacrifices. Being a better you is learning more, holding yourself accountable for things, and having an understanding of, what really needs to be done, you know, more or less than your feelings, going into a need versus a want. The same thing and applies with finance. Same thing and applies with you and your feelings, your needs versus your want. You might need this, you know, because it's detrimental. You gotta have it, but to a degree, a lot of people mixing up their needs and their wants. I will want something. I will want uh like for instance now, I'm to the point where I want a brand new pickup truck, that'll suffice. 2024, fully loaded pickup truck, all that stuff, all the bells and whistles. That's a want. Now, do I need it? I have a truck. The truck is paid off. So the compromising position that I'm gonna be putting myself in by getting a bigger note, a fully loaded pickup truck now is about $1,300 a month, not even including insurance. That's just for the truck note. So having that point, can't stop, man. What you doing? You supposed to be on the cruise, man. Shout out to you, man. I enjoyed it with your son, man. That young fella just like you, man. He's full of energy, man. He's happy, living life. Hey, can't complain, And needless to say, man, enjoy yourself on the cruise, man. But I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here because I'm gonna have to do a little discipline with myself and do some work around here. So with that being said, shout out to everybody that came in. Hit the like button walking out the door if you didn't already. And like I said, everybody's channel. Have a chance. You can sit there, get at everybody's channel, sub. Go over there, hit those notification bells. When they go live, you're watching the channel, everything. Okay, I bring it every day, just had a pop up. But needless to say, like I say, I always say when I get off of here, we here, and you know what else? We gone.